Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. I, of course, am Hammer here with Hammer Solutions, home of products like Originator Success, Grab and Go Social, Agent Success, Rate Sensei, and MortgageRateAdvantage.com. So you'll be seeing those. They're all coming out this year. Some of them, of course, already out. And anyway, if you're here this morning, say good morning. Today, we're going to cover what happened yesterday. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened with bonds and what happened with rates. We're going to go over consumer confidence, the info that came in yesterday, talk about that a little. We're going to talk about the upcoming FOMC meeting minutes that come out today. Basically, the only thing at all that's going to have any kind of effect on anything, and a little bit more. So if you're here live, say good morning. Remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on Facebook and YouTube. Pretty soon, I think we're going to start putting that on not the TikTok, maybe TikTok if Restream allows us to, but on Instagram. So anyway, remember, you can join me live if you are watching on the replay. Go ahead and give me a hashtag replay in the comments. If you're here live again, once again, say good morning live or on the replay. Don't forget to smash that like button. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, all that good stuff. If you would like a quick reminder, if you want to make sure you don't miss the show at any point, go ahead and sign up for our text reminders. You could, of course, sign off at any time. There's no big sales pitch on any of them. It's just a reminder text to let you know that I'm on. And you can sign up for that at hmmr.io/reminder. Or if you're on your phone, you can take a screenshot right now and then come back in your photos, and you can actually reference the cool QR code right there. And that will take you to go ahead and sign up and get notified that I'm going live. So also, while you're out and about, don't forget to sign up for our free daily lock advice email that goes out each and every weekday morning. You can sign up for that at ratelockadvice.com if you're not signed up already. So, all right, let's say hi to the folks this morning, see who we got here. We've got Megan Bissell. Good morning, Megan. Mike Tebow, Amy Blauser, great to have all of you here. Angela Walters, good morning. Ron Siegel says today is National Hamburger Day, also National Brisket Day. I'm big on both of those. In fact, yesterday I had a hamburger with brisket in it. One of the local places does that. It's really good. Good morning, Mallory Fotiadis, Charlie Bedita, good to see you, sir. Randy Tickle, giddy up. Deb Dickinson, good morning. Mike Brown, great to have you here. Will Patterson, Alan Christian, that's right, baby. Live to ride. Angie Kuznia. Angie, is this your first time? I don't recognize the name. Well, welcome and great to have you here, and thank you for joining us. Brandy Brickler, that name I do recognize. Good morning, my friend. Mike Morano, good morning, sir. Tariff fears behind those big swings in consumer confidence. Yeah, dude. I mean, tariff fears are part of it, but there's a whole bunch. What happens is the tariffs affected stocks. People get panicked when they see the stock market, all of the media talking about how negative everything is. That affects consumer confidence. We'll get into that more in a minute, though. Yeah, I saw you share the Inman article with me, which I'm going to use the Bloomberg one for reference. They're very, very there. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at what we got going on this morning. And bear with me, I'll pop this up here. All right, so quick recap. Yesterday was a good day for bonds, but it's over. One day does not a rally make. That's what I said yesterday in the text alerts, or maybe the written lock advice. And I mean, if we look at this for a 5-day effect, let's go ahead and zoom in. Hold on, I'm going to refresh the page so we can see what's here. If we go ahead and take a quick look at this, this is a 5-day view of what's going on. Oh, what was my annotate thing? Hold on, is it this? What turns on my annotate tool? I remember I bought that. Is it this? No, that's control all. That's not what I wanted. Yeah, it's got to be this one. Hold on. Presentify. I think I have to start it. Hold on a minute. Let me start this thing. I forgot about this until I'm like, how did I? There it is. So we're going to annotate the screen. All right. So we got yellow. Okay. So each one of these dotted lines that you see here, these represent a different day. And so if we look here, this was yesterday, everything we see here. And of course, that was the first day of the week. Monday is missing because of the holiday. Everything right here. This is because the market was closed, but this is Friday. You would see here. And if you try writing with a mouse, and then we, of course, have Thursday and Wednesday. So taking a look, I mean, last week we had our low point here. That is your worst thing. And then things, really did improve through the end of the week, as you can see. And they continued to improve yesterday, and now they're kind of settling down. And I think that that's probably about where we do settle down. I don't think we're going to see much more improvement than that. So definitely keep that in mind. If we take a look over here, hold on, there we go. Okay. All right. So if we take a look over here, looking at what's going on with right here, looking at what's going on with mortgage bonds, these are the Japanese candlesticks, right? So last week we came down and we had this worst level here, and you got a nice bounce. But it's very unlikely that you're going to see things continue to go much higher than that. Why not? We could argue that there is definitely, I could draw a line right here. Kind of put this one up. Can you put that line? No, I can't move after I've done it. Okay. But if you do that line, you could argue that that's where we've got some technical, these are some technical levels right about here. And you could see that we touched up on it yesterday right here, and now we're falling back below it today right here. But more so than that, it's more of a kind of an idea of what's going on in the overall sentiment. So 10-year treasury yield 4.46. That is nice to see that is below 4.5. Remember, right here was the ugly day. It got better here. The yield is inverse of pricing, so you want this to go down. So this is actually going down in that scenario. But we've got all kinds of technicals that we're going to be bumping into here. It's very unlikely that you're going to see things continue to improve much from that. So keep that in mind as well. Rate sheets today going to be similar to what we saw yesterday. Mortgage-backed securities are giving back the small gains that they saw yesterday afternoon. You're up down about 5 basis points in the morning. Not terrible, but certainly not good at all. And as far as reprice risk on the day, it's moderate. I mean, we could lose ground enough to push some lenders to reprice. It should be low. So let's talk a little bit more about that consumer sentiment that Mike Morano was kind of referencing and alluding to. And why does this matter? Well, remember something. The economy is driven by consumer spending. So consumer confidence drives consumer spending, especially when they're spending money they don't have. Most consumers are spending money that is on credit. So unless we have a credit bubble, that's a lot of what's going to continue to drive the economy. So taking a look at where we're at, I mean, stock futures inching higher as the focus turns to NVIDIA and their earnings is what they're talking about here on Bloomberg Markets Wrap. U.S. stock futures slightly up ahead of NVIDIA Corp's earnings as investors waited to gauge the impact of the trade war and outlook for artificial intelligence. In a year in which Trump's tariff war has spurred significant market volatility, there's a high anticipation around the AI bellwether's earnings that are due after the close on Wednesday. You're not going to see this affect us too much, and with bonds or anything else, it's more about what's going on with stocks on that one. But here you go. Consumer confidence jumps the most in 4 years on trade truce. And remember, I take these with a grain of salt, man. These are surveys, right? Where do they find the people? Just like weather, right? So I came back from 10-day motorcycle trip down in the beach of Alabama, the panhandle of Florida. It's 93 degrees. Up here in the mountains, was 52 degrees. So different parts of the US, just like they have different weather, they have different markets, different economies. And consumer confidence, depending on where they're pulling that data and who they're talking to and how it's going, you'll give it some more so than others as far as the expectation. What Mike was pointing out was an article from Inman where another confidence reading from University of Michigan, it's a different survey, that one showed that things were getting negative, and then this one shows things are positive. And the Inman article that Mike referenced talks about how it was the timing of when those surveys were taken. And I think it's more than that, though, Mike. I really do. I don't think it's just the timing. You could still see that there's, consumer spending's going down. You could see that there's arguments that airlines, travel, hospitality, and leisure are starting to wane a little bit. But there's fatigue at current prices. People were concerned about the idea of inflation and what we could see from the tariffs, but more so, I think they were just scared based on how badly stocks were doing, that markets were tanking, and what was being said in the media. I think that has a lot to do with all of that. So keep that in mind. But the consumer confidence yesterday did come in higher than expected, much higher than expected. And it didn't really put much of a damper on bonds, though. When you take a look at where that came in, that was at 10 a.m. And you look at bonds were at 98.55 at 9:30ish, and at 10 a.m. they were at 98.53 and 90. I mean, so it really didn't have much of an effect on mortgage bonds. They crept high through the afternoon before coming a little bit lower to end the day. And we had a bit of a jump this morning, and then some early volatility as we lost ground. So what we've got going on this afternoon, though, is the Fed meeting minutes. Markets will be looking for any expectation of cuts later in the year. Right now, I'd say the biggest representation is probably expectation that it will happen in September. So remember, this was a June expectation we'd have a rate cut. That's up to 98% that we'll leave it alone, that you're not going to see a cut. And now it's being pushed off in September. So all of this talk over and over and over about recession and economic weakness and all these different things and the tariffs, yet none of it ever comes to fruition. The recession talk was being spoke up big time, and it's not here. Everybody is, of course, whining that the Fed needs to cut rates. What's his name? Bill Pulte over at the FHFA. I don't know if he's just on Trump's coattails or what. I mean, if you're the director and the guy in charge of the FHFA, you should know that the Fed cutting rates is short-term rates, and it's not really going to do much for mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are already baking in 2 cuts this year. And if there were 3, we wouldn't see rates move that much. The Fed's not cutting mortgage rates, Bill. They're cutting their short-term rates, and it's not going to have a huge effect. It's got to be a lot of cutting. So I think he's just out there, similar voicing Trump's thing. I think he likes his cushy job and he wants to keep it. And that's my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Do you guys think that Bill Pulte there over at the FHFA really believes that a Fed rate cut is going to help housing rates? Because that's what he said on Monday. I mean, or they said he said it on Monday. That was Memorial Day, so I'm assuming he said it on Monday. Mike said, finally noticing a shift. Credit spending is finally slowing down. Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily. I think that it depends on which reports you read. On one hand it is, on the other hand it's not. It's just how much has it slowed down. And I appreciate you sharing that stuff always, by the way. Tim Clyde, good morning. Harry Dennis, great to see y'all. So as far as where we go, these are the rates, y'all. They're really, we're not going to see them move much. They're not going to move down much. Right now, we're currently looking at those high 6s. What are we looking at? 6.97 at the moment for what they were showing yesterday. Today will be very similar to that. You're not going to see much of a move. That puts us very much the same as where we were at here. That's, we got day-to-day volatility. There's not a lot of reason to float anything near term. I would be locking anything that's closing in the next 30 days. I said that yesterday. I'm agreeing with that today. I don't yet. Of course, Ron pointed out cutting the Fed funds rate will affect the 10-year and HELOC rates. I don't know that it's going to affect the 10-year all that much, Ron. I really don't think it would, just because of the longevity of where they're at and the idea that we would see inflation. The only reason that you could argue that there would be, whether it's causality or what do you call that when it just happens, coincidence, that it would happen, is if the Fed was cutting rates, then they're no longer afraid of inflation. That's really the thing. So that's why you could see mortgage rates improve, because it would be similar conditions if we're not necessarily afraid of inflation. then you got similar conditions that'll cause, that could encourage a Fed rate cut that will also help mortgage rates to improve a little bit. And that's the lack of inflation. But otherwise, there's really not too much there. Tim said these guys are out of touch with what's happening on the ground. Yeah, I think so, Tim. I absolutely do. I don't think that Bill Pulte has any clue on how this stuff was. At least Bill said that he was extremely disappointed to hear about FICO cost increases. Well, then do something about it, though, right? Yeah, I mean, Experian, same thing. How it's been years and we can't get anything with trigger leads, and yet make it part of the big bountiful bloated bill there. Make trigger leads and banning trigger leads part of that big bloated bill. Would be nice. Percent came out with a program to cut supplementary leverage ratio for banks to allow more demand on the bonds, ultimately help mortgage rates as a byproduct into summer as a plan. Yeah, I did see something about that. Basically, remember, Scott Bessent is the Treasury Secretary, and he does get it. He was on Wall Street for a long time. I think he's a hedge fund manager, and he has said that they want to push housing rates lower, and the way to do that is by manipulating treasuries and long-term debt versus short-term debt and what they're issuing and things like that, and doing stuff like this, the supplementary leverage ratio, all of that. And actually, even that one I don't know too much about, but all of that is supposed to do the same thing. So, all right, my friends. Well, again, anyway, as far as where we come out here on this stuff, I'll throw it on the screen one more time, and then we will wrap it up today. I'd be locking anything closing 30 days and longer if risk averse and willing to pay the premium. And since today is since today is National Hamburger Day, what do you put on your burger? And do you do beef, turkey, or fake meat? No, I don't need. I just want that. No, I don't want to annotate shortcuts. I shift question mark. There we go. Make sure I hit the right button. All right, so that's the question today. Let me know in the comments. What do you put on your burger? Do you prefer beef, turkey, or fake meat, like a veggie burger or a black bean burger or a Beyond burger? I'm a good old beef burger. I'll do turkey, but you gotta fatten it up. So turkey is just way too lean. I'm not a bison burger guy, a little too gamey and a little too lean for me. I just like a good old beef burger. I like it fatty. I want it to be dripping. I want nice, flavorful meat. If it's made well, I'll do a little onion, maybe some jalapeno pickle, and I don't need a lot of ketchup or mustard. But if it's not the best tasting meat, I'll put a little ketchup and mustard. I of course like salt and pepper seasonings on it. Bobby is beef with cheese. What kind of cheese, Bobby? Good old American, melts well, or are you looking at one of those cheddars? Loaded up. Mike Brown says loaded up. Tim Clyla, beef with the classic toppings. Yeah, right. Lettuce, tomato, onion, pickles. Ron, beef with cheese, Thousand Island, and a couple pickles. Ron, that sounds an awful lot like a Big Mac. Ron, is that a Big Mac? An all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. I'm thinking that turkey burger, regular time. Beef is better. Yeah, Mike, I know. People think turkey burger is healthier, but I'm big on beef. I think beef. Yeah, American. Bobby said American cheese. Love my American cheese. No salad on the burger. Yeah, I'm not big on. I'll do lettuce and tomatoes sometimes if it's a tasty tomato. One thing about being down here in North Carolina, the tomatoes down here suck. It's funny. Make fun of New Jersey all you want. I do. But we had awesome tomatoes. The beefsteak tomato, Jersey tomatoes. Remember, New Jersey is the garden state, and the tomatoes were awesome there. The tomatoes down here, they don't have a lot of taste, a lot of flavor. Yeah, Ron, beef, baby. Beef, bacon, and cheese. Oh, Deb, you bacon. Bacon's up. Where's Sean Segaloff? He'd agree. Beef, bacon, and cheese, pickles, onion. That sounds good. Robert Bashir, smash burger. I used to pick on the smash burger, but if it's done right, they're actually tasty because they got a char, but they're still juicy. The problem is a lot of the places that do smash burgers, they just smash the burger and they dry it out. The whole idea to a smash burger is you squish it, you cook it, you flip it, you cook it, like it's off, boom, fast. If you dry it out, then they're just dried out, crusty burgers, but a good smash burger, I've learned I actually will enjoy. Jerry said that burger you compared to the Big Mac is the In-N-Out double double. The double double. Yeah, we don't have In-N-Outs out here on the East Coast, so I've never eaten one of those. I'll have to go check one out next time I'm out west. Bacon all the way. Everything is better with it. Is everything is better with bacon. So, all right, my friends. Well, thank you again for joining me. Appreciate all of you. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Again, the FOMC meeting minutes this afternoon not likely to move markets. It should, reprice risk on the day is moderate. Bonds are down a bit to start the day and could get worse. In fact, as I say that, they're down now 10 basis points on the day. So, but this is all still as initial pricing comes out. We'll see where that goes. But in Tennessee, I'll check it out. Tennessee depends on where in Tennessee. So, all right, my friends, have a fantastic one. We'll talk more tomorrow. Bye-bye.